Ladies and gentlemen, up until now you've seen the creature perform the simple mechanics of motor activity, but for what you are about to see next, we must enter quietly into the realm of genius. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, Damen und Herren, from what was once an inarticulate mass of lifeless tissues, may I now present a cultured, sophisticated man about town. Hit it!
The Sketch-O-Matic Show.
Oh my goodness.
Loud noises!
I sound like a siren.
Sketch-O-Matic.
Back again.
Yeah!
The Sketch-O-Matic Show podcast.
Sketch-O-Matic.
Another milestone episode ahead of you.
Sketchy.
I'm real excited about this one. A iconic TV and radio broadcaster joining me today. This one is definitely near and dear to my heart because, well, I grew up to this man on television. I distinctly, vividly remember when I was a little boy having to go to bed once this gentleman's segment had ended on television. You have to wake up early in the morning, Christian, as my mom would always remind me. Who would have thought that I would be sitting here today, many, many decades later, talking to this man? And not only that, but my special guest today has been inducted into California Sports Hall of Fame.
Inducted into the California Sports Hall of Fame tonight, coming up on 40 years here at NBC4.
Give a speech for 45 minutes. Then I put my glasses on and it said 4 to 5 minutes.
And he's still on the air after 40 plus years, going strong. He has many different TV segments, not just his regular on-air shift that he does every day on NBC4 LA, but he also has weekend show, he has a specialty show, he has a streaming specialty show, and he's on the air at AM570 LA. I mean, this guy has many, many roles, wears many, many different hats. It makes me elated to have him joining me here today. I mean, wow. In today's podcast, we also cover how I got to join and be a part of his production team for The Challenge at NBC4 LA, which comes on after football Sunday nights. Make sure you check it out.
Wow.
He's asked me to do voiceover for his Thanksgiving special, which is also on NBC4 LA on Thanksgiving, as well as a streaming segment he calls The Dean's Office, which we get into in this episode. And speaking of Thanksgiving, by the way, I'd like to reiterate what I'm grateful and thankful for in just a few words. There are a few people that I have to specifically thank for planting the seed in my head to create this podcast. And there's a few of those gentlemen, mostly that I've grown up with and I went to high school with. We still connect on Xbox chat almost every week because we're, video game nerds like that. Nerd! But one in particular guy, whose name is Brandon, aka Space, was the first guy to tell me years ago that I should start a podcast, that I'd be great at it. I'm not sure about the great part, but I know how to do it. I know the structure of doing it. And I vividly remember telling him, oh man, Space, you know how much? That's so much fucking work. And back then, I was drinking a lot more and I was not in the same headspace as I am now. And I'm grateful for Space giving me that idea because here we are today, even though it took me a few years to get it going. He was the first one to actually say, you know what, you should start a podcast because I think you'd be great at it. You have such a good voice. You do production all the time. He knew it. He saw it. And so Space, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for giving me that idea. Thank you for the inspiration and for, believing in me. As well as my other homies, Max Rebo, Chris Mad Dog, and of course, Brian Merkin, Matt Fate. Love you guys. Culver City High School friends for life. And there's so much more I can tell you that I'm thankful for, but I'd just be eating up too much time. Let's get into today's special guest podcast interview. I'm excited. Episode
15.
Let's dive in. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Sketcho Matt.
Special guest from NBC for LA, as well as host of Rogan's Heroes, The Challenge, Going Rogan, and The Dean's Office, iconic sportscaster, and radio host at AM570 LA Sports, Fred Roggin.
That's right, you heard her. I have to reintroduce this living broadcast legend in Los Angeles, as well as other markets, the Dean of Sports. I mean, I grew up to this man. He is sitting here with me right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored and pleased to present Fred Roggin on the Sketch-O-Matic Show podcast, the Dean!
Sketch, anytime anybody calls me a legend, you know what they're really saying, don't you?
That you're old?
I'm old.
No, well,
That's exactly what they're saying.
But I'm not saying that. I'm saying, as Sketch-O-Matic on the sketch here, as I proclaim to you, podcast publicly, you are not old. You are a legend in your craft, in your prowess of being a broadcaster in Los Angeles on television and on radio.
You know what's funny? So
my face?
Well, aside from that, I mean that is without
it's
having to say,
right. Mm-hmm.
I got in when I was 23 years old.
Yeah.
And now I'm 65.
Well, you don't look it.
I have grown up on Los Angeles TV. My entire life has been in a fishbowl. Some things pretty good. Some things not so good.
Right.
But everything I have done has been basically in Los Angeles. I have lived here longer than anywhere I have in my life. When I came here, I was 23. I just got here from Phoenix. And really, I was a kid. I didn't go to college. Yeah. I had 6 months of a junior college. And I started in radio in Globe, Arizona.
Is that's where you're born originally?
I was born in Detroit.
Okay, Detroit. Shout out to Detroit.
Born in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
What up, Detroit?
And then the riots, the riots hit in 68.
Right.
Now, my mom had arthritis, and we were from Detroit. She had to move to a warm climate. Well, in 68, and anybody that's lived through any kind of racial unrest knows what that was like. And I was a kid. I was 9, 10 years old.
I understand.
It was horrible, and it was terrifying.
It was like a different planet back then, Fred.
Yeah, it really was. Mm-hmm. And we had to move to a warm climate. So in the riots, a lot of Detroit was destroyed. My dad was a pharmacist, and he owned a pharmacy. And his store was destroyed in the riots.
Never rebuilt it.
No.
Just moved away.
Because took the insurance money and moved to a warm climate.
That's a good plan.
Which was Phoenix.
Well,
we'd never been to Arizona, but it was good for my mother's arthritis.
Right.
And so I went to, I started, I think, in 5th grade in Phoenix, and then I graduated high school in Phoenix. And I had an opportunity to go anywhere in the country to college because, believe it or not, back in the day, I was the Arizona Boys Club Boy of the Year. Thank you.
I went to the Boys Club back in the day in Santa Monica in the 80s.
Okay, so I was the Arizona Boys Club Boy of the Year.
Oh, wow.
And accompanying that title was the opportunity to go to college wherever you wanted. And my mother wanted me to be an attorney. I was either going to be a major league umpire or an NBA referee.
I mean, you're really hitting all the questions I was going to ask you, Fred. This is why you're such a broadcaster, because I was going to ask you where you originally born, what led you to Los Angeles, other career paths, if you hypothetically never got into broadcasting. But I do want to ask you this. I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But I have to dive in here real quick, and I would like to dive a little bit deeper into just Fred Roggin, the person. Like, Fred Roggin, what roads led you to want to get into radio? I'm sorry, want to get into broadcasting?
No, it's radio.
Oh, you got into radio first.
You're right. It was radio.
Interesting.
So I had this opportunity to go to college anywhere, and I was sick of school. I was a straight A kid. I was sick of school. I turned down the scholarship. My mother was very upset because she wanted me to be an attorney. I went to Phoenix Junior College and got into broadcasting class.
But why? What was it that inspired you?
I wanted to do play-by-play. I was a huge sports fan. My dad loved sports. I lost my dad, by the way, when I was 13.
Oh, wow.
So my dad was a huge sports fan. Yeah, he had a heart attack. It was in the house. I tried to save him.
Oh, my goodness.
And it really does affect you.
Yeah, definitely. We're part of as Big Boy would say, we're part of members of a fucked up club now. My mom passed away in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, you can curse if you want on this podcast.
Thank you.
It's set to explicit. So love to get a real...
Yeah, no, you'll get it. You'll get it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was pretty effed up.
Yeah.
Okay. So I decided to go to a junior college, get into broadcasting. I was there 6 months. And I was working for the public radio station in Phoenix. I can't remember what it was called, but it was NPR, National Public Radio, where a lot of schools have National Public Radio. So I was running the board for All Things Considered.
How old are you at this point?
Oh my God, what was I, 18 maybe?
Okay, young Fred Roggin.
Yeah, I had really no training. I was just in this broadcast course for 6 months.
Can I quickly interject and ask you what broadcaster, sports play-by-play announcers were you inspired by?
Oh, well, back in the day, Al McCoy, who was the voice of the Suns in Arizona State.
Here's Perry. To Gar Hurd. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good! It counts! Gar Hurd ties it! We'll go to the third overtime.
As a studio guy, it was Bryant Gumbel, who had just taken over NFL Live on NBC.
I know Bryant Gumbel.
Okay, the pregame shows.
Yeah. Bryant Gumbel and Mike Adamle in New York. Quickly now, we'll get you caught up on the day's scores. Houston a winner over Oakland at 8-31-17.
So I'm there 6 months, and I decided I wanted to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the top of the Coliseum in Phoenix when the Suns were playing, and I had a tape recorder. My friend went with me, and I did play-by-play at the very top of the Coliseum watching the Suns, and the guy sitting next to me said, it's so nice that you're describing the game for your blind friend. The guy thought my friend was blind, and I was just describing the game.
What?
I took that tape, and I found out there was an opening in Globe, Arizona, at Kiko Radio, for a play-by-play guy.
So essentially that was your demo tape?
Yeah. So I drove the 80 miles east of Phoenix up into the mountains to Globe, which was bordered by the San Carlos Indian Reservation and the Inspiration Consolidated Copper Company.
Wow, you remember all this, Fred.
Yeah. And the radio station was in a trailer called Patio Park.
Okay.
So I went to Patio Park, and it was a trailer park, and there was a trailer in there. I walked in, I met with a guy, gave him my tape. And I said, I want to work here. He said, well, if you work here...
The radio station was in a trailer?
Yeah.
That's cool.
If you work here, not only will you do the play-by-play of the local high school teams, it was the Globe Tigers and Miami Vandals, but you also have to do a show every night. And I said, well, what am I going to do? He goes, well, we play top 40 music. I said, okay. And he goes, you also have to sell your own show.
Whoa.
You have to sell the spots.
And this is your first introduction into radio.
This was it.
I mean, wow.
And I said, what's the job pay? And he said, $400 a month. I said, great.
And you're 18.
I was 18. And I said, okay, so I want the job. He goes, well, we're talking to some other people. Give me a week and I'll get back to you. A week goes by, guy doesn't call. I call him. I say, I'm just checking in. Another week goes by, guy doesn't call. It's a true story. I call him, I'm checking in.
Right.
Third week goes by, doesn't call. I call him, I say I'm checking in.
Full month goes by.
Full month.
You're on the edge of your seat.
Right. For $400 a month.
Yeah.
Full month goes by. I call him, and he says, look, you've got to stop calling me. If you promise to stop calling me, you're hired. Just stop calling me.
How long after till you actually officially got the job?
It was a month.
Oh,
I mean, boom, you're hired.
Oh, wow. Just because you didn't call.
I promise I won't call anymore. And when I work for you, I won't call you. And he said, fine.
Yeah.
You're hired. I drive up to Globe. I rent a trailer. By the way, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't cook. I don't know anything.
You're just so fresh and as like you're a young adult. You're finally 18. Yeah. You're not even old enough to buy booze yet.
Right.
I mean, you're on the radio. What shift did you get?
Okay, 8 till 12 midnight. I was Uncle Fred, the kiddie's friend, the ambassador of mirth and merriment, a ray of sunshine in your otherwise dreary day.
Did you, now when you went on your first time, other than doing the demo, and then you go on air, are you nervous? Are you shaking in your shoes?
Yeah. I was terrified. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And back then we had reel-to-reel tape recorders.
I remember I started on reel-to-reel.
So what I would do, and you had to learn how to cue up music on turntables, right? So you didn't wow them.
Yeah, so you're a DJing, Fred.
I was DJing.
Go ahead, DJ Fred Roggin.
That's right. That's who I was, Bandana
DJ
Fred.
Dean, right?
Yeah.
You didn't even know it.
No. So anyway, I start doing that, and in every intro, and when you do top 40 radio, you're only talking 15 seconds of pop. I would record every one of them behind me. And when the music was on, I would listen back to it to hear my voice and to see how I was delivering the line and to see if my inflection was correct.
Critiquing yourself as you went along.
Every single time.
So essentially, you're practicing on the air.
Right. That's what I was doing.
That is crazy,
That's
Fred.
what I was doing.
This is wild.
Yeah. And then I would go and I would do the play-by-play of the Globe Tigers. I'd have to take my remote kit to the high school areas and then set up, do the game, drive back. I was selling my own show. Back then, you'd sell for 50 cents a spot. Hey, you want to buy commercial time? It's 50 cents a spot.
Wow.
And what you would do, because you got paid by the number of spots you had, you would cut the record short. and get more spots in.
Oh, yeah. You
Right?
could. That's when it almost started getting to like 3-minute songs.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about back then, but now the songs are like 3 minutes tops and you're out. Right.
So I would just like cut them down. I'd kind of pot them down and then start running spots because I got paid more.
Damn, you were editing the songs, listening to yourself on the reel-to-reel, creating demos as you went along. What was your PD, the guy, the man that hired you? How did he feel about your first time being on air? Your first
Gene Pearsall thought it was great, but the guy that owned the station, I've told the story, was named Willard Shoecraft.
Okay.
Willard was a very successful businessman and a legend in those parts.
Right.
And also had no legs.
Wow.
And he lost his legs, and he did not have prosthetic legs. So
he's just in a wheelchair?
He didn't have a wheelchair.
Whoa.
He kind of hopped around.
What?
And he had an incredible upper body because all he would do was hop. And one day I come in and I sit down and we eat at my desk and I'm preparing for my show and I feel something on my ankle and I'm terrified. I think maybe there's an alligator or something under the desk,
Or
and it's
a
got
rat
me
or
by
something,
the ankle.
right? Oh my God! Or a snake.
Right, and I move away from the desk as quickly as I can, and I'm really frightened. I look down; it was Willard under my desk, grabbing my ankle.
I feel terrible for laughing at this, but I mean,
but it's true.
This is wild. Did you know that he didn't? This is your first introduction to that as well.
No, I met him.
Oh,
first time I met him,
right?
He was at his desk, and he was sitting there.
Yeah,
and then he came around to shake my hand, and he kind of hopped out of his chair, and he kind of hopped on the ground.
Man.
So I was in Globe less than a year, and I put together a demo tape, and I went to Yuma.
And you edited your own demo tape.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is crazy. I want to dive into a little bit because I remember when we first spoke, I only have you for a certain set of time, and I want to. Okay, one is you seem to have an innate gift of delivery. Just listening to you talk right now, and since I've met you on and off air, you have this very. It's a very specific dialect that you have, and you don't have like an accent from Detroit. You don't seem to have any kind of accent. It's very articulate. Did you always have that when you started in radio, or did you develop? I mean, how did you grow into your voice?
I think I pretty much spoke like this. My voice was much higher when I started because I didn't understand how to use it.
Yes.
And you have to learn that. Normally, if you go to school for more than 6 months, you learn those things. I kind of learned on the fly.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I learned on the fly. And then also, so you're doing your job and you're in Arizona, right? You're on the air.
I'm in at this point, Globe.
Right. And then Globe eventually, Yuma, right.
Right. And so Yuma, I went down there and I was rock and roll Roggin every day, 10 to 3. Another biscuit from the ever-loving oven of hits.
Is there demos out there of that on YouTube?
I don't know where they are.
My God, I have to try to find something.
That would
go on,
great.
Please.
So I'm doing that, and I'm doing the play-by-play of the Kofa Kings, the high school team. And there they have a TV station. So I went up to them and I said, we're owned by the same people. I would like to try out to be on TV. And they looked at me and they said, this is Yuma, Arizona. What do you think? Who do you think we are? We don't have tryouts to be on TV. And I was kind of sad. The guy goes, you want to be on TV? You are on TV. And that's how I got on TV.
Wait. So dive a little bit deeper into that. So you're on TV.
I was on radio.
Right.
And they had a TV station. And I thought, well, hell, I'll try TV. Because I always thought I had a face for radio. But I'll try TV.
I have a face for radio, a voice for television, face for radio. That's me right there.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I asked to try out, and the guy says, there are no tryouts.
No auditions.
No, there are no auditions here. If you want to be on, you're on.
Just like that.
That's how I got on TV.
So you immediately get handed and you do an on-air slot on TV?
I'm doing the sports every night now. They had no sports guy.
And how old are you at this point?
I was like 19.
Oh my God, Fred, this is crazy.
Like 19, maybe 19 and a half.
Okay.
And for radio, I got paid $750 a month. And for TV, I got paid $5 a day.
Which equal to a month?
Well, 5 times.
I'm terrible at math.
$50, $200.
Okay, so it wasn't that great at all. Not compared to the radio gig, right?
Right. I mean,
that's wild.
Was it $200? It was $100.
Oh, it was $100.
It was $100
compared to your $400 a month.
This was $750 now. So I was close to $1,000 a month.
Yeah, that's a lot of money back then, though.
Right.
For sure.
Well,
yeah, I mean, we'll consider it.
Serious. So I'm doing this. And now I'm on TV. Understand, I don't know anything about what I'm doing, so I'm learning on the fly. I'm making my own graphics.
Are you bombing at all?
No, you can't bomb.
I mean, but do you make a mistake? Do you fumble over your own words? What happens?
There's no prompter. There's no teleprompter.
You're
when
just
I
reading
started,
on
the
paper.
cameras were black and white.
Oh, my God.
And I also didn't know, because I'd never done it, how long the script should be, how much I should prepare. So I literally prepared novels.
Wow.
I mean, they were thick scripts. And because there were no graphics, I created them at the station. I took pictures of things and had them superimpose them behind me.
So you were doing your own visual imaging as well, Fred.
I did that, yeah.
You were like, and I remember we've had this discussion, and I want to quickly kind of shift gears, but I also want to talk more about going from Yuma to LA, which how did you get there? Okay. And then also the challenge. I want to talk about the challenge and how you brought me on as the voiceover. I mean, this is so much, but we only have a little bit of time.
I'm going to guide you all through it.
Okay, copy that.
So I'm in Yuma. I'm making my own graphics. I'm on TV. There's no prompter. So what I did is I memorized the copy every day. That was a lot of memorization, but it taught me how to work without a prompter, which taught me how to be more authentic and communicative when I spoke. Mm-hmm. I didn't need to rely on that. I wasn't a reader. And that also comes, Sketch, and you know this, from working in radio. If you work in radio, if you do any time behind a radio microphone, you're forced to communicate one-on-one to people. Right. Where many people on TV read. Mm-hmm. The ones that distinguish themselves are the ones able to communicate, and those are the people normally with a radio background. I'm in Yuma. I'm there about a year. I go to Austin, Texas, the ABC TV station. I'm the sports guy there. I'm there about a year, and an opportunity presents itself in Phoenix at KTAR, now KPNX, and to be the 5 o'clock sports guy and do the Phoenix Suns pregame show. So I apply for that job, and I get it. Now I'm back home. I'm in Phoenix, and I'm doing the 5 o'clock sports.
That's
and
exciting.
I create
as hell.
this kind of image that I kind of do off the wall, kind of quirky, kooky things.
Yes.
Which is picked up by all the NBC stations in the country, and they're now all running my stuff. KNBC in Los Angeles has an opening.
So you're being syndicated already?
Yeah, there was an NBC in-house feed.
I see.
That all the stations subscribe to. So to supplement your news content, you could select stories from this feed, and you could chop them up and run them as voiceovers. You could take complete reports.
Wow.
But my stuff was so odd that they ran it. And I realized that they were running a lot of the stuff from Phoenix because it would play anywhere. Right. It was more broad-based.
It's very generic as well. You could just generic.
Right. It was like different kinds of golf pants.
Yeah.
Driving in a demolition derby. Things like that.
I see. Yeah. It could be
trying
anywhere.
to ride a horse.
And it could be like evergreen as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they were.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that KNBC in Los Angeles was running a lot of my stuff from Phoenix. I didn't know.
And they never asked you or told you?
No, because they subscribed to this feed.
I see. Right.
So they were running it. They had an opening, and they called me.
Oh.
And they said, would you come out and talk to us? So I came out, and I spoke to them.
Did you fly out or drive out?
I flew. They flew me in.
Yeah, nice.
I flew in. I met with them. They said, okay, we'll get back to you. And I'll never forget it. I get a call in Phoenix from Erwin Sofchek, who is no longer with us. He was the news director then. And he says, Mr. Roggin, if you accept our offer. And I went, I accept.
Just like that.
Just like that. I didn't even know what the offer was.
Wow.
Because in Phoenix, I was making $15,000 a year.
Wow. And you're only 20 at this point or something. Well, how old are you now?
I was 20 when I got it. Like 22 now.
Oh, my God. And you never had a regular job in your life?
No. This was it.
I mean, that is so crazy, Fred. Please continue.
So I said, I accept. You do? Okay, well, we're going to pay you $40,000. I thought that was $40 million.
Yeah, of course.
I went, I'll take it.
Cha-ching.
So I started here when I was 23.
And what year is this?
80.
Yes.
And at that time, and I don't know if it's still the case, probably not, but for many years following that, I was the youngest person to ever anchor any type of Los Angeles news.
I remember seeing you, Fred Roggin, in the 80s. Yeah. Watching you on Johnny Carson.
Right.
He is Channel 4's news and sports anchor and reporter. Would you welcome Fred Roggin? What do you think of the Olympics?
Well, I'll tell you, I think we're going to do a lot better during the Seoul Olympics in the Summer Games.
Yeah.
Because NBC will have the games, and of course, we'll do it right. That's the key. We will do it right.
So,
I mean,
what happened was I realized early on, and you're a master at this in radio, you understand these things, that you have to build franchises or promotables or something that becomes a staple that you go to.
Yes.
And I created the Hall of Shame.
The following is a presentation of Sunday Night Sports, recognized throughout Southern California as the leader in sports insanity. It's time for the coveted Hall of Shame Awards. It's Fred Roggin Sports Bowl 87.
Thank you, Don Pardo, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our biggest night of the year. We've got a lot to show you, and this year we have changed the ground rules just a little bit. Now, there are going to be 3 segments. The first is Roggins Heroes, the second, the Hall of Shame, and the third, a salute to the winners.
That was before Roggins Heroes?
The Hall of Shame started everything. And those were all the bloopers. And the way we used to do them, they were mini movies.
Yeah.
A lot of production.
I'm going to play a clip.
Very detailed.
Yeah.
And then, so we had all the oddball blooper stuff. We needed something good. So we started Plays of the Week. And those were the great plays.
Right.
And one night I'm at a bar, Stanley's in Encino. And I don't know, it's late. I go up to get a drink. The bartender says to me, "Hey, Hogan's Heroes? Roggins Heroes."
What?
The bartender at Stanley said, "Hogan's Heroes, Roggins Heroes."
What? And this is when Hogan's Heroes was still very
Hogan's
huge.
Heroes, people knew
right,
about
yes,
Hogan's Heroes.
Absolutely. I'll play a quick clip of that as well. So this bartender...
so I went,
go ahead.
Roggins Heroes?
Yeah. What was the bartender's name?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you, but he just said it. And I went, huh. So I went to the station, and I went to the graphics department, and I asked them to create me as a little general head. That's what I said. Make me a general head. Put me in a little general uniform like a cartoon.
Right.
And we'll call it Roggins Heroes.
In hockey, the thank you Payne Weber shot goes to Paul Sear of the Rangers, who banked the puck off the Payne Weber sign and into the net against St. Louis.
So Roggins Heroes then started with the great plays every week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then a national syndicator, MCA, came to me and said, "We want to take the show national." And this is just when America's Funniest Home Videos was launching.
Dude, you're like on fire. You're like a rocket ship.
Yeah, I was doing okay.
Yeah.
I can't argue that. And what happened was they wanted to they loved the Hall of Shame.
Yeah.
Because the Hall of Shame was the standard.
Very good.
And people tried to
and
copy
nobody
it.
else did it before you? Were you the originator of all that, Fred?
Well, I don't know. I
bloopers
was here.
and all that?
I was here.
Okay.
I don't know if I was in the country, but certainly as it developed here, I got a lot of credit. Either I deserved it or didn't.
So you're like a trendsetter, Fred. You started something back then, and you were young as hell.
Right.
Okay.
So the syndicator said, "We want to do the show," and they wanted the Hall of Shame. They tested the Hall of Shame, and it came up negative. Not the concept, but the name, Hall of Shame.
Oh, I see.
So we decided we would call the show Roggins Heroes, but 90% of it was the Hall of Shame.
Now, did Hogan's Heroes try to come after you a little bit, or a copyright, or too close similarity?
I had that when we did a bit that Saturday Night Live did. The old Mr. Bill.
Yeah.
Okay,
oh, no, Mr. Bill.
Right,
yeah.
Mr. Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, my TV's on the blink, and I'm trying to fix it for Saturday night tonight.
Here's your problem, Mr. Bill. It isn't plugged in.
And the Giants were playing the Broncos. And we made Mr. Bill Parcells, a little clay Mr. Bill.
Yeah.
And we got a bottle of Orange Crush soda and crushed Mr. Bill just like they would on Saturday Night Live. I mean, we really did it well.
Man.
And I think that cost the station $75,000 for copyright infringement. And I said, it's a parody. And the response was, no, they do the parodies.
Wow.
Not you. And we had done it so well.
It looked official.
It was so precise.
Yeah.
It looked like it came from SNL.
Like claymation.
Yeah. Well, back then it wasn't.
Right.
Back then they moved them.
Right. It was like stop and go. Like you'd have to move it. It took forever.
Yeah. So we had done it so precisely that we got sued for it. That was the only time we ever got nailed for that.
That's a compliment, though. In the same essence, you're getting sued for copyright and for too close. But at the same time, that's how good it was that they had to sue because it's too close.
You know what?
And who did the production?
I did.
You did the production on the. Oh my, Fred. Okay, let me quickly veer into this.
Okay.
I want to shine a spotlight on when I first met you, when we first started talking, when you brought me as the voiceover to the challenge. I remember you explained to me that you were like, Sketch. Most people think I'm a TV guy.
Right.
Most people think I'm a radio guy.
Right.
And you said, and this is what caught me off guard. You go, but I'm neither. And I'm like, what? And you go, I'm a production guy, an imaging guy. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's what I am. So now I see where the production and the imaging skills come from because you were doing all that simultaneously while being on the air at NBC or when you first got to LA.
Yeah, but see, here's why.
Go ahead.
And a couple of things. And I'm going to pay you a compliment in a second.
Oh, thank you.
First of all, if you go on the air, if you're the talent, if you're the face, you have a shelf life. You have a shelf life.
Right.
Look, in 42 years, I've aged. You have a shelf life. And when management comes in or things change, and it oftentimes does, they can look at you and say, you know what? You're not our cup of tea. We're going to go in a different direction. And that's why you find people in our business that jump around so much.
Right.
They need jobs.
Right.
New people come in. Maybe you didn't test well in research. I never based anything on me. I based everything on what I could do and how things look. You know, production is funny. If I lined up 5 bottles of water in front of you, Arrowhead, Crystal Geyser, Desante, 5 different bottles. Okay. I took off all the labels. And all the bottles were the same. I said, drink. At the end of it, I go, what do you think? Which one was better? And you'd look at me and go, well, they're all water.
Right.
It's how you package things that makes them stand out.
Yes.
You know, why is Grey Goose vodka considered better than Smirnoff?
Or
Well,
even-
the bottom line is it's the packaging, it's the marketing, and they charge more.
Right. Even Fiji water.
Yeah. Bottom line is it's all water.
Yeah, it's just water. But
And guess what? It's all vodka.
Yeah.
But it's the way it's put together.
Marketed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I always thought the image of something and the concept outweighs who's doing it most of the time. You have to have the right cast in any production. But if you produce things differently and in a unique manner, and you understand what the audience wants, that will succeed. And that's how I've always approached everything. So you come into the challenge. We've been doing the challenge for like 15, 16 years.
Damn.
And I freshen the challenge every 3 years.
Right.
And one of my producers said to me, why are you changing it? I said, because if I'm bored, so is the audience.
And that's when you brought me on?
You are in the latest incarnation of the challenge,
right,
where I changed the set. Conceptually, we changed the internal production of the show.
Right.
New music, new graphics.
Yeah, and we even had Above Los Angeles.
Right, above Los Angeles. Josh. And you.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, you are so good at what you do.
Thank you.
And what people don't understand is a lot of times they're hearing things. And the way we consume, we listen and we know if we like it or if we don't. It's really pretty simple.
Right.
You don't know who did it. You don't know how it was put together.
Right.
You don't know the time and the effort that went into it.
The technical logistics of it all.
You don't know. You're listening. You're
Yeah.
listening to this right now. You either like it or you don't. It's pretty simple.
Right. No, I'm going to add some cool shit to it, though.
But no, but I'm saying what you do is so incredibly unique. And it really ties everything together. Without you, there's nothing. And I mean that from a production
Thank you
standpoint.
so much, Fred. That means so much to me.
But
Seriously.
without you, and I'll also share this, that you've done the challenge, and I called you one day and I said, I need some help.
Yeah.
I'm working on something else. You said, okay. Yeah. I said, do you know anyone that does a British voice? I'm doing this concept called the Dean's Office.
Oh, yes, yes.
And ultimately, I want it to run on our OTT platform, which is basically streaming. And we'll see what else we can do with it. I need somebody that does a British voice.
Yeah.
And you said, well, you've called the right guy. I said, oh, you know somebody? You said, no, I do.
Yeah, I could do it.
All right.
I did it.
I sent you the copy. You got it back to me really within a half hour.
Yeah.
And
Well, you're
this is
Fred Roggin. Of course I'm going to do
This
that.
is just a demo. This is just like we're screwing around here to see. I listened to it and I burst out laughing. I must have played it for like 10 people.
Really?
And I said, what do you think? What do you think of this guy? My God, you know, you got a guy in London? I said, no, he's the guy that does the challenge.
And what did they say?
He's the same guy.
Really?
And they went, oh my God. I went, do you understand? These people are pros.
Yeah.
They're pros. If you work in radio, let me tell you, you're a pro.
Yeah.
You have a skill set that is so far superior, and no disrespect to my television colleagues, because they all very talented. But the skill set to do this is so far superior than the skill set to do television. In TV, let's face it, people like you or they don't.
Right.
You're standing there.
Well, you got longevity, Fred.
Well, because of the production elements that I introduced.
Right.
Imagine if I had just gone on for this number of years and done nightly sports.
Right.
I would have been everyone. I would have been anyone.
Right.
In a world where everything that is the same, nothing is different.
You wouldn't stood out from the rest.
Nothing would have distinguished what we did.
Right.
And I built everything around production and not me. There are guys in our market that, and I give them credit, they're at every event. They talk to every player. They get every interview. I've always maintained that the audience doesn't need that. Now, this is just me, and I could be wrong. I've maintained the only thing that mattered is what the audience saw. That's all. No one cared what it took to put it together. No one cared how long you worked on getting it. What do they see? And by taking elements from everywhere and producing them in a certain manner, your stuff looks different.
Mm-hmm.
It's unique. It's unusual. So while everybody is doing the exact same interview,
right?
I always told our guys, we're not doing that.
No, you remixed it.
We've
you
got to come up with something
different. And it's
different.
the production mind you have that led you to all that. And you obviously, when you heard my production for the Kings intro, before it was Crypto.com Arena.
So good.
LA City. Are you ready? It's about to begin.
Ladies and gentlemen,
please welcome your Los Angeles Kings.
That intro got me the job with you on the challenge.
So good.
Unfortunately, that intro didn't last very long at Staples Center.
Because they changed the guy.
Yeah, they changed the head of live events.
Yeah.
But shout out to him for bringing me on, and then the Crypto.com thing all changed. But I will like to say and reiterate that on episode 2 of this podcast, I talked about you.
Oh, you
did? The story about how it all came to be, and when you walked into my studio when I still worked on the 4th floor here at iHeart, it was like completely surreal, Fred Roggin, because again, I watched you growing up. I knew that when you came on the news at night, it was time to go to bed, because it was already like getting close to, the Tonight Show and all that.
Or I put people in a coma.
Not at all, man. I literally marveled at everything you've done in your career, and to be sitting here with you right now is unreal. But not only that, but to be on your show and to do the Dean's Office. I got to play that intro real quick, or both intros, just so the 10 people listening to this right now will understand what it is that you're referring to. Yeah, of course. Good. Most of them have heard it already. Go ahead, Fred.
No, I just want to say this. Here's the thing about operating a business. Yeah. And I've had my own production company as well. And so why you in that scenario? You know what? What you learn is that you have to surround yourself with the most talented, intelligent people and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
You don't micromanage them. You don't stay all over them.
Don't hovercraft.
Right. Don't hovercraft. If you know what you're doing and you're that good, then I thank you for working with me.
Wow. Well,
I thank you for making me better. And I've always tried to surround myself with people that are really talented, really creative people.
Right.
In all of the years, when we used to hire sports producers at Channel 4, they would say, okay, well, you want to hire some guys? Yeah, we got to hire somebody. Okay. Here's some resumes from sports producers. And I'd always say the same thing. I don't want any of those. I don't want any.
Because they're all the same.
I don't want any sports producer resumes.
Really?
I want creative people that can do sports, not people that know sports. We have interns at Channel 4 now. We have one currently. And the guy comes in, he starts giving me all his sports takes, and he's telling me everything. He's a college kid, nice kid. And I said, here's what I need you to do. But he's giving me the sports takes, and he's talking about it. And I finally said, I'm not going to use his name. I said, look, I need you to listen to me. I do this for a living.
Yeah, you do.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know what? I do it every day in Los Angeles radio.
Twice a day, 3 times a day.
But I do it on the radio.
Yeah.
Where I need to know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You can't fool people in radio. TV, you can fool them.
Right.
Radio, you can't. Yeah. I need to know. I could be wrong. I could be right. But I need to know. And at least I've got an opinion.
Yeah.
I said, I don't need your opinions. I don't need you here to give me your opinion.
I need talent.
I need creativity. You to create.
Yes.
I need you to create things.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to create social media things. And I showed him some examples of stuff I wanted him to do. By the way, he can't do it.
Oh.
He just can't do it. But here he is with the sports takes. I said, no. And I told our guys, I said, all right, you need to move him a little bit and put him where he's going to succeed. Because I also believe you always must put people in their best position to succeed in life.
Right.
If you're failing, that could be my fault. I put you in the wrong place.
So you got to find the right lane.
Right. And if you're overseeing something, you have to be able to identify what that lane is.
Right.
And then put you there so you do your best work. You are your happiest and you are your most productive when you do your best work. If I put you in a position and you're not qualified or it just doesn't, it's not a fit for you, you're miserable, you're upset, You're anxious. You're not working. You become embittered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not pleased because I'm not getting your best work out of you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my responsibility, really, or anyone's who is running anything, to make you happy. But by making you happy does not mean, well, I'll give you a raise and then you'll still be in the same shitty job. No. I need to find a way to challenge you every single day and make you your best. And if you're your best, then I become my best, and then we all succeed.
Brilliantly said. I mean, the intro for the challenge really did put me outside of my comfort zone. It went through.
Why?
Well, not bad, in a bad way, but it was like because I wanted to impress. I wanted to be creative. I wanted to really make it stand out. Remember, it went through a few music bed changes.
Yeah, we did.
It took a while, and obviously the general public doesn't know about that. They don't really care. But it is, like you said earlier, it is the technical logistics that we have to travel to get to that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, but again, that's you.
Yeah.
You see, that's you, and that's what you do, and that's why you have been as successful. I'll say this for people listening. If you have any idea, and you probably don't, what it takes to image major market radio. When I heard your Kings intro, which you played for me, I realized, wait a minute, you're just not the imaging guy at a radio station, a major market station.
Yeah.
No. You can do more. And that's when it hit me. I had kind of put you as, you're at iHeart.
Right.
And your stuff is spectacular.
Thank you.
But then I went, wait, if you're so good here, why couldn't you be really good over here?
And you took a chance on me, man.
No, I didn't take any chance. I knew what it would be.
Yeah, but it came out so good. And then, but to follow up on the British, the Dean's office, I mean, that was just so much fun to put together. Oh, and by the way, Jared hit me last night from NBC. And he said, oh, by the way, we're going to have some more thanks for the Thanksgiving special. Is it
Rogan's Heroes Thanksgiving, which is the number one, the most watched, locally produced television show every year in Los Angeles. So more people watch of the shows that are produced in LA, which is all newscasts, special public affairs shows, things like that. This is the most watched show, Rogan's Heroes Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And you did it last year.
Yeah, I did it last year.
But you had a different tone to you.
I did.
Again.
It was more upbeat. It was more kind of like family friendly. Very like, Rogan's Heroes Thanksgiving.
Right.
It's very...
From the Universal Hilton Hotel, it's Rogan's Heroes Thanksgiving.
Then the challenge is like, live from Los Angeles with Fred Roggin and Petros Papadakis for the challenge.
Now, from Los Angeles, you're live with Fred Roggin and Petros Papadakis for the challenge.
Can you remember a little of the Dean's office?
You've reached the Dean's office. Something like that. I don't remember the exact script, but that's what it was. And
welcome to the Dean's office.
Yeah, welcome to the Dean's office. Today, the Dean will be delivering 3 lectures. Pay attention. Take notes if you're inclined. And at the conclusion of the lectures, you will have an opportunity to win. School is now in session.
Fred, can you do any accents at all? Do you do any impressions?
Everybody's always said to me, you ought to do commercials. You ought to do voice work. You have a voice. And can I tell you something?
Please.
What you do is so special and so unique. And I've actually talked to some of the people here, and I said, maybe I'll get into voiceovers.
You should.
But no, I won't.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. What you do is an art, and I can't do that. And I know. And even my family says, you need to be doing voiceovers. There's such a unique skill to that. You're a voice actor. You're a voice actor. And that's hard. That's not easy. It's not, you say, well, people can do voices or walk around on the street. You have no idea how hard it is to do what you do. That's really tough. And to master it is incredible. I don't have that. I know I don't have that skill set. I wish I did. I could make more money, but I don't.
You have skill sets in so many other areas that actually they've made me evolve. Your skill set, watching you work, Fred, has made me pivot and evolve in greater ways, along with Big Boy and just working in commercial production at iHeart. I get taken out of my comfort zone for a lot of different projects, not meaning I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do this. It's just I'm not used to doing one thing and then switching gears so quickly.
But today you have to.
Yeah, and that is such a valuable skill set to have.
Yeah.
And I learned it from watching you work, Fred, and watching Kevin Figures work, and Ronnie, all the people behind your team. And I would like to quickly touch on that before we wrap up here. I know I got to let you go pretty soon, but there's just so many avenues of conversation in the radio and TV broadcast realm. In regards to working at NBC4 LA, which you've worked at for how many years?
42.
Now? Oh, my God. That's just fantastic. Congratulations. Got to play a little round of applause for that.
Nobody else would hire me. Thank you.
But then you get over. I remember hearing you on before it was KLAC. I remember there was another station you worked at, which was the Beast 980. Remember that for a brief?
Beast 980.
Yes.
I worked at the Ticket.
Yes.
I was always a radio guy. In my heart, I'm a radio guy that did TV. And I love radio because radio is the purest form of communication. Mm-hmm. Radio, you're actually talking to people one-on-one.
Yeah.
Radio, you're actually impacting them.
Yeah.
When people watch television, they watch passively. They sit back and they stare and they watch and they listen.
Right.
In radio, the audience is engaged.
Yes.
They are engaged with you.
Right.
And you have to be prepared and you have to know your stuff.
Right.
And you're communicating thoughts and ideas with your audience back and forth.
Right.
Sometimes they don't like what you say. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they call and yell at you. Sometimes they tell you you're great. But what you've done in radio is created this club, this fraternity, this family that comes together every day and joins you.
From their cars.
From their offices, walking around. We have so many people that are delivery people, listening on the app.
Yeah.
They come together because it's we're better together.
Yeah.
And people want to be together and they want to be with people they care about and they want to be with people they enjoy.
Not only that, Fred, but your voice, going back to the voiceover work and just your voice, as unique as it is. And I've tried to do impressions of you, Fred. I haven't met anyone that can do an impression of you like to the T, because your voice is so distinct. This is why I think you'd work in voiceovers, not being a voice actor to play something else or to be some British accent, just you.
Yeah.
Just being yourself, because that voice is so, it just takes me back. And it's, oh, by the way, this is what I wanted to say.
All right.
It's a comforting thing about you. There's a comfort factor when I hear your voice, because I grew up to it, and then when I see your face on television and I'm sitting right in front of you right now, there's a certain blanket of comfort that you supply your audience that is unmatched. And I think that is something that is hard to find in the media today, to find that face along with a voice that everybody's like, oh, Fred Roggin. And it makes you feel like you're home.
You know, it's funny that you say that.
Go ahead.
If I'm walking around on the street, and so it's been this way for 42 years, I have to tell you, and you see me every day.
Yes.
I mean, we're friends.
Yes.
I'm not somebody that stands out. I'm smaller than you think I am. And I'm just kind of an average guy. I really am.
I guess you could blend in easier.
But that's a kind way to put it. Let's put it like this. I don't stand out, and I'm aware of that. There's nothing distinguishable about me when you see me that you go, oh, hey. No, it just doesn't exist. I'm well aware of that.
For me, it was your voice. I heard you through the door.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Anytime I go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be staring at me and not knowing anything about me. And if I say something, go, oh, my God.
Fred Roggin.
Fred.
Immediately. When you're in the store, do you get recognized by the voice? Interesting.
It's always the voice.
Let me ask you.
No one ever recognizes me without the voice.
Let me ask you, in regards to the interviews you've had over the the decades you've worked in radio and broadcasting on television.
Yeah.
Can you name just at least one or two that really stood out to you? I mean, obviously, we're going to go to Kobe Bryant, right?
Yes, Kobe Bryant by far.
Right.
Kobe always made himself available to me. I'm not a guy that wants to go into the locker room with 30 guys, stick a microphone in your face and say, what do you think? I'm not that guy. I won't be that guy. I've never been. I'd rather book a hotel suite, bring 3 cameras in, and get you for an hour.
Fancy Fred Roggin style.
Let's get to it.
Yeah.
Let's really do this. I probably did 4 or 5 of those with Kobe.
Wow.
And he always made himself available, because you don't ask all the time, because there's not... You need him when you need him.
Right.
He was spectacular.
Yeah.
He was spectacular.
What was your last interview with him? When did that happen?
I think that was the one. A big sit down was the Olympics.
Yeah.
The Olympic trial, the Olympic practice in Vegas. And that's when he told me back then that, I'm not going to do this much longer. And I said, no, you are.
Oh, retire.
Yeah,
right,
no,
right.
I'm not.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm good. I'm done. Yeah.
I'm really not going to do it much longer.
Maybe now you're ready for this role. Maybe you're ready to lead this team.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned quite a bit, and I think playing for Phil is taught me a lot. I mean, in terms of how to lead this ball club and how to manage situations. So, from that standpoint, I'm ready.
Crazy because I'm a year older than he was.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I'm about to be 45 years old, Fred, in January. He passed away a day after my 42nd birthday.
Oh my gosh!
And I was my birthday fell on a Saturday, and the next day it was a Sunday morning. And I couldn't believe that it happened. It took a while and then the tribute I put together, which you played on your show.
It was fantastic.
On KLAC. Can we quickly talk about, and then I'll wrap up with you. We'll sum up. Going from the different radio stations, your longevity at NBC4 LA, but then how do you end up back at KLAC or just on KLAC AM570?
Okay, quickly.
Go ahead.
I come to town. I'm doing TV. I always missed radio. Missed it. Wanted to do radio.
You're a radio guy.
Right. Missed it desperately. I mean, when radio, I can't emphasize this enough. When radio's in your blood, it's in your blood. And it does not leave.
Oh,
you don't
I get
a
it.
transfusion.
Yeah, no, it's part of my DNA.
Right. If you start in it, that's who you are.
I'm dying in it.
Right. And you can make a lot of money in TV, not as much in radio, but radio is what you love.
Yeah.
So I came here. They started a radio station called The Ticket, 1540 The Ticket.
I remember.
All right. They called me. They were starting a station to compete in the market. They hired me, and they hired this kid, this real brash, abrasive kid named Petros.
Shout out to Petros.
I did the midday. Petros did the afternoon drive. And then at 2:30, because he came on at 3, at 2:30, he and I did 30 minutes of crosstalk. And that's where we built our relationship that we carried over to the challenge. So we did this crosstalk. It worked. And there was a chemistry there. I left there and I came here and I did mornings with TJ Simers and his daughter. Okay. That didn't work so well. TJ's brilliant, by the way.
Right.
And his daughter was fantastic. It just didn't work.
Right.
TJ wasn't a radio guy.
Copy that.
Work. Okay. So that was the end of that. But I still filled in here all the time because I just like doing it. And they were thinking about putting me on 9 to noon. And this is when the Dodgers were involved in the sale of the station.
Right.
And a new station started called the Beast 980.
Yes.
And they called me and said, do you have a contract at KLAC? And I said, no. They said, we want to talk to you. Okay. So I was filling in here I was on all the time.
Yeah.
But they called me and said, all right, here's the offer. So I created an offer that they couldn't give me. In other words, I created this scenario. I need a car. I need this. I want to opt out of my deal if I want. I put all this stuff in where there's no way.
Right, they're going to give this to you.
Right, because I'm not going to leave here. I mean, I'm only filling in here.
You're going to make them an offer they will refuse.
Right. And I figured, well, the money's nice, but I mean, these guys, I love these guys.
Right.
Okay. We are on a baseball trip. We used to take the kids on baseball trips, and we're in St. Louis. Okay. And we're sitting out by the pool in St. Louis, and the phone rings, and it's them. And they go, well, everything you asked for, you got. Now what are you going to do? So I looked at my wife, and I said, okay, they just gave me every single thing I asked for. What am I going to do?
You can't say no now.
You know what she said?
What?
You idiot, you're going to sign it. So then...
Shout out to Mrs. Roggin.
Right. I went and I talked to Don. I said, Don, I mean, my God, they're offering me. I'm not filling in. They want to give me. He goes,
how did Don take it?
Well, he goes, we're going to work together again. You go.
Wow.
You go.
That's love right there.
Okay. So I went. I did that for like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I had enough.
It was KFWB before the Beast 98. KFWB. Remember?
Right.
Yeah.
It was 98.
Yeah. 22. We'll give you the world.
In 22 minutes.
Yes.
All news, all the time. You give us 22 minutes. We'll give you the world.
It's 51 degrees in Hollywood.
So I said, I'm gonna leave. So then I called and I said, well, I'm going to leave there. I'm going to leave.
And you were able to opt out because that was in
that was it.
Wow.
And then I opt out. Then like 6 months later, they shut the whole station.
Yeah, I remember it flipped to like Korean. Yeah, I remember.
All right. So anyway, it was a Monday, and I said goodbye on the Beast 980, I was back on the air here Thursday.
Oh, what? That's that Fred Roggin clout, though, man.
Well, I was back on, filling in, and it's like I'd never left, and Petros and I are working together.
Yeah.
So then what happened was I'm here almost every day doing something.
Yeah.
Either their midday show, I'm filling in for one of the afternoon guys, and I just finally said to Don, I said, you know what, Don, this is great. I love filling in here. You have to understand that I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to show up every day.
Like you did at the very beginning in your first job. You kept calling.
I'm not leaving, so you should know that. I will be here every day. If you have nothing for me to do, I'll still be here every single day.
You just come in and sit here in the
Well, they always
bullpen?
had something for me to do.
Yeah, of course. So I'll put you to work.
I just told them, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, I've left, and now I'm back, and this is where I'm going to be. There was some sniffing around to see if I would be interested in leaving here at a point. When I'm never leaving here again.
No, you love it here. You're not leaving NBC4 LA either, right? The dean is there to stay.
You know what? The dean will stay as long as the business
but even
supports
all of you,
the dean staying.
Yeah, all three of you, though, you, Colleen, and Chuck, are the gang. You're the original.
But here's the thing, Sketch. You have to understand. As media has changed, the relevance of what we do on television has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that, it's great to have that equity and longevity. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't mean as much as it used to. If we're there every night doing it, but there are 20 people instead of 20,000 watching, it's different.
I hear you, man. And look, watching habits are much different nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put it like this. How long will I be there? As long as I'm there.
But you're staying in radio, though.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, you're.
Oh,
like
no.
Yeah,
This is what I'm doing. But Vin Scully retired.
I know.
Vin Scully retired. The greatest of all time.
I know. That's wild. I feel like he just could have kept going. I wish he did. But then again, how old was he when he retired?
Oh, he was
like 80 something, right?
Yeah, he late 80s.
I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to keep going until you got to push me out.
Yeah, but he was so good at what he did. But when he retired, you know what he said? I'll miss you more than you'll miss me.
Yes.
You and I have been friends for a long time, but I know in my heart that I've always needed you more than you've ever needed me.
And he said, they'll be in a year or two.
Right.
They'll say, you know what? There was some guy named Scully that used to do the Dodgers.
Not some guy. That guy is
that's
the
what
man.
he said. And, to a degree, he understood.
Absolutely.
And so do I.
Mm-hmm.
One day, you know what? I can't. I was trying to think of it the other day. I don't know how many people sat in my chair at Channel 4. I think Channel 4's been around 75 years.
Yeah.
Bryant Gumbel sat there, Stu Nahan, Tommy Hawkins, Chick Hearn, Lynn Shackelford, Rayford Johnson.
I mean, the greats.
Okay. But if it's been around 75 years, I've been in that chair for 42 of them. There haven't been many of us.
No.
But when one goes, another one steps in. And that's just the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's just the way, the flow of the business and whatnot. But I mean, I am very grateful to still have really only you, because I only know you. But when I see you with them, it's a sense of comfort and home to me. And I lived outside of LA and I moved back. And I'll tell you, there's nothing like living in Los Angeles, hearing you on KLAC AM570, watching you on NBC4 LA. And of course, being able to be a part of the challenge with you and Petros Papadakis. I mean, it's a dream come true. And I want to thank you, Fred, for not only doing this podcast, but for believing in me to take on the obligations of not only doing the challenge, the Dean's office, and then of Roggin's Heroes Thanksgiving, which is coming up this Thanksgiving. And I'd like to wish you a happy Thanksgiving to you and the family.
Back at you, Sketch, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Fred Roggin, on the Sketch-O-Matic Show podcast, The Dean.
Also, how about a shout out to a buddy of ours? Sketch. Oh, yeah, the voiceover guy. Right. He's the opening voice of the show, one of the best voice imaging guys in Los Angeles, and a great person. Sketch, thank you very much for this season. Alarmingly slim. He is slim.
Oh, good for you. And how was it?
The Sketch-O-Matic Show.
Too much information and shit, man.
Shut your mouth, essay.
Okay, bye.